Right, guys, let's jump into it. Big fight happening tomorrow. Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. The biggest fight probably since the lockdown. All eyes on Fight Camp tomorrow. Big things gonna be going on. I'm very sure Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua's gonna be ringside himself. Everyone's been waiting for a big fight, and I'm sure this fight is gonna be absolutely explosive. Maximum violence, that's the slogan coming from Dillian Whyte. The silent danger man in Alexander Povetkin. Never know what might come out. Big shots, left hook versus left hook. Let's jump into it. Weigh in, keys to victory for both men. Let's jump into it. Dillian Whyte came in at a weight of 252 pounds. Alexander Povetkin came in at a weight of 224 pounds. Dillian Whyte against Marius Wack, his previous fight out in Saudi. I think he weighed over 270 pounds. I'm not sure the exact figure. I have to go check it out on BoxRec or something. But he weighed in at 252 pounds this time around. Interesting way. Obviously, Dillian Whyte was training out in Portugal. Been grinding out there, grafting. Obviously, it's boiling hot out there. So that probably could have helped him, contribute to the weight loss. Has he lost this weight in a healthy way? I'm not really sure, because to jump down from 270 something pounds to 250 something pounds depends how you do it. Sometimes it's healthy, sometimes it's not healthy. Sometimes that can actually leave you drained, where you've basically given your all to lose the weight in the gym. And do you have much left when it's time to actually fight? Well, at least we're going to know whether that's the case tomorrow. In terms of Alexander Povetkin's weight, Alexander Povetkin coming in at 224 pounds. Well, to be honest, Povetkin, for his age, has been very consistent, with his weight. Over the years, if you go on BoxRec, Povetkin has always been rotating around, just around the 220-ish, 222, 225. I'm not really sure. What's the highest weight Povetkin's really come in at? I think it might have been 231. I believe. I think Povetkin's not gone anymore. I think it might have been 231. I need to double check. Don't quote me on that. But I think Povetkin, to be honest, over his age, from his first fight professionally, where he weighed at 220 something pounds, to today when he's coming through at 224 pounds, disciplined, traditional Eastern European Russian fighter, very disciplined, not too much comments, too much noise from him. It's all about business, getting that money and getting the job done from Alexander Povetkin. So hats off to him for, coming through at this age and still being able to come in at 224 pounds, because we've seen guys like Luis Ortiz at his age coming in at 200 and how much did Luis Ortiz weigh? 240 something pounds. Povetkin, he's still able to rotate at a very healthy weight, never really blows up in weight. Dillian Whyte blew up in weight for Marius Wack, but he obviously had a lot of problems going on. But Povetkin, very disciplined, able to keep his weight in check, and he's ready for the call. They called him up to take on Dillian Whyte. Eddie Hearn looking to set up a big, massive fight for Dillian. Called up Povetkin. Povetkin's always in shape. He's not one of these guys that they call them for fights and he's not in condition and they say, "Oh, I don't want to fight." No, you caught me napping. This guy, always in shape, always serious, always ready to, get on with anyone whenever that phone goes bring. He's ready to get, this guy's ready for the fight. Traditional Russian disciplined fighter, similar to the Usyks and the Vladimir Klitschko's, and people like Gennady Golovkin. Very serious guys, no jokes, no playing around. They're all about business. So, will the weight play any part in this fight? It remains to be seen. Dillian Whyte is looking in tremendous condition. I think this is the best condition I've actually ever seen Dillian Whyte in. I think against, who was it that when he fought Chisora? I think, was it for Chisora the second fight or the first fight? I can't remember. I think it was the second fight. He came in around 200, was he 240 something? I think he came in around not too dissimilar from his current weight now. But for me, he looks much more aesthetically solid. His muscle to fat ratio has definitely gone down. So you can see that muscle definition there, grinding out in the gym. One thing I just have to say though is that aesthetics doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that translate into, you know, the fighting performance, so to speak. It doesn't change your skills or anything like that, because we saw AJ against Andy Ruiz, tremendous condition, sculpted. You would think that his fat percent ratio was like 1%, and we saw what if a so-called fat Andy Ruiz was able to do against Anthony Joshua. So caution, guys jumping on the bandwagon saying that, you know, the shape and, you know, tremendous condition. A lot of fighters can get in tremendous condition and get knocked out. Deontay Wilder fought Brazil. Brazil would arguably say was in the best condition of his life, talking about he's never fought, you know, trained as well as he did, and he got ironed out. You know, Joshua got beat up. He was in tip-top physical condition. Big, strong guy over Andy Ruiz. Got stopped. You know, a lot of guys, they get beat and they're meant to be in tremendous condition. But hats off to Dillian Whyte, though, for getting in the shape that he's in. You know, training hard, grafting hard, getting in shape out there in Portugal. Changed trainers for Mark Tibbs. He's working with Dave Caldwell, and he's got I can't remember the name of this other trainer that he's got now, but he's got another trainer. Dave Caldwell's also in his corner. You know, his current trainer, very, you know, relatively unknown, inexperienced. He needs very good to get someone like Caldwell in the corner just to back him up, you know. But in terms of Dillian Whyte's weight and his condition, he's looking basically in most phenomenal shape that he's ever looked at in his life, and he should be, because you're taking on a dangerous man like Alexander Povetkin. This guy's not coming to play. He's coming to knock Dillian Whyte out to get the WBC shot, because this is Povetkin's potential, Alexander Povetkin's last chance at world title, age 40, and he can't afford to slip up here. If he wants to become world champion again, you know, this is his opportunity. So Dillian Whyte knows this, and he knows he's got to be in tremendous condition. He said it himself at the, you know, the press conference. He said that he needs to be in tremendous condition. He knows who he's fighting. He knows what's at stake. The title shot he's been pushing for, he's got Povetkin in his way. He can't afford to be coming in out of condition. So Dillian Whyte seems to be physically in the best condition he's ever been in. We're going to have to wait and see if that translates into a tremendous performance from him, a potential knockout win over Povetkin. Povetkin coming in light, as I said, very consistent in weight. You know, I expect to see Povetkin doing similar to how he's fought before, especially when he fought Anthony Joshua, slipping, looking for left hooks, right hooks, you know, ducking really low and everything like that. His weight is probably going to allow him to do that. He's going to have a speed advantage over Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, obviously, like basically around 30 pounds heavier than Povetkin. Povetkin is definitely going to have a speed advantage over Dillian Whyte, and Povetkin had a speed advantage over Anthony Joshua as well in the early going. And now that's why we're going to jump into this keys to victory for both of these guys. You know, interesting. Both these guys have a possibility to win this fight. You know, all these guys talking about Povetkin's, obviously Povetkin's old. He's not that young Povetkin that was beating a lot of those guys, very energetic. I like Matt. He used to be. I could liken him to a younger Povetkin. You know, if you watch him against Takam and some of these other guys, not too dissimilar from Mike Tyson. Obviously, ain't no Mike Tyson, but you know, that kind of squat, shorter kind of build, moving in and out of range very quickly. Very not too dissimilar from Mike Tyson. Power in both hands, especially that devastating left hook that he's got knocked out. David Price out, big fashion. It's going to be interesting to see what Povetkin is able to do in this fight. But in terms of keys to victory, Dillian Whyte's keys to victory, I feel like for Dillian Whyte, you know, to be most effective against Povetkin, he's not going to beat Povetkin when it comes to speed. Obviously, he's lost the weight, but you know, looking at what Povetkin did against AJ and Povetkin's track record, how he was able to, you know, obviously Michael Hunt was very quick. Povetkin was able to eventually catch up to him. Povetkin's going to be a much quicker fighter than Dillian Whyte. So for me, I feel like Dillian Whyte, similar to AJ, it's going to be a lot of feeling out rounds for Dillian Whyte. Shouldn't be rushing in there to take out Povetkin just like that. You know, he hasn't got that zip that someone like a Michael Hunt has got, that can get in and out of range without really getting caught early going. Because if he sits in the pocket too long with a Povetkin very sneaky, presenting unnecessary opportunities for Povetkin to catch him with big shots. So I think an early going, he needs to test the waters you know, test the waters with Povetkin, see, you know, read Povetkin's movement, see the kind of tempo Povetkin's moving at. Povetkin most of the time tends to start pretty quickly, you know, and especially with Povetkin's age now, you know, he seems to fade later on, especially in the second half of fights. So for me, in terms of Dillian Whyte's keys to victory, he should be looking to, if Povetkin's coming out, you know, as quickly as he normally does, you know, he should be looking to keep the distance from Povetkin. Obviously, I expect Dillian Whyte's going to have a longer arm reach than Povetkin, a bit taller. I can't remember, is Dillian Whyte like 6'4", something like that? Should be trying to use his, obviously he's not like a Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury or AJ, of the massive guys with the major height advantage over Povetkin, but he needs to try and box, so to speak, keep the distance early, allow Povetkin to keep working, you know, don't present any unnecessary opportunities to Povetkin in the early going. Once Povetkin potentially starts to tire, as we saw against AJ, he started to slow down, he started to stand up much more straight, you know, the guard, when AJ started to hit Povetkin to the body, the arms started to come down, opportunities start to present themselves to AJ. AJ was able to gauge the distance. Dillian Whyte should, you know, try and emulate a similar game plan in order to, you know, not present unnecessary opportunities to Povetkin when Povetkin's going to be fresh. Because when Povetkin's fresh and you give up Povetkin unnecessary opportunities in early going, we saw what happened to David Price when he gets too adventurous, when he's getting early going, where the crowd is rallying him up. Obviously, there's going to be no crowd here. But you saw what happened with Pricey when he was absolutely devastated with himself that he got dropped. But Pricey was presenting unnecessary opportunities to Povetkin, got clipped, got dropped, and it shook him for the rest of the fight. Obviously, Dillian Whyte is more tougher in terms of mentality and physically than Price, but that is what Povetkin can do to you if you give him unnecessary opportunities and you don't time yourself in terms of the rounds and gauge things correctly. So I believe Dillian Whyte needs to box in the beginning. Obviously, Povetkin's a very skilled fighter, much more skilled than Dillian Whyte in my opinion. Wily old fox, you know, been to the Olympics, fought Klitschko, fought Anthony Joshua. Those are his Klitschko, Anthony Joshua, and his 2 losses. Very experienced guy. But for in terms of Dillian Whyte, needs to box, needs to keep the distance early, allow Povetkin to work, weather the early storm if there is one. Hopefully Povetkin begins to tire. Then before you know it, opportunities will begin to present themselves. Then Dillian Whyte can begin to plant his feet, try and counter Povetkin coming in when he's much more tired. After Whyte should be hitting him to the body to slow him up. You know, Povetkin begins to tire. Left hook opportunities might begin to present themselves. Right hands as well, just similar to like what AJ did. Because if you look at the early rounds of AJ, you would think that AJ was going to potentially lose the fight. Povetkin began to slow. Povetkin started to get caught by Joshua, and we saw what happened to Alexander Povetkin. So I believe that Dillian Whyte should emulate. Obviously, AJ is very skilled. He's a bigger guy, power in both hands as well. You would think, but obviously Dillian Whyte's got the left hook, deadly left hook. So I believe that he should emulate a game plan similar to AJ, allowing Povetkin to work. Will Povetkin come in with a smarter game plan or not, you know, commit so early? Because when he fought Michael Hunter, you know, he managed to last a long time because Michael Hunter was putting the pressure on, you know, on Povetkin. So Povetkin wasn't really having to exert as much energy as he did against Anthony Joshua. So he was able to last much longer. Will Whyte put the pressure on Povetkin? You know, I think that would be a mistake because Povetkin's gonna spend most of his time trying to defend himself, and he's not going to be exerting as much energy. And then maybe Povetkin might be able to have enough gas in the tank to do damage in the second half of the fight. But I just believe that Dillian Whyte should try and emulate something similar to Anthony Joshua, allowing Povetkin to work. Povetkin tends to start early. You know, Povetkin might be looking to take Dillian Whyte out early, but in the first half of the fight, in order to prevent going in later rounds, so he doesn't gas out or get tired, in order to not give Whyte unnecessary opportunities to potentially knock him out and stop him when opportunities unnecessarily present themselves. But I just feel like Dillian Whyte should be careful in the early going. Don't present any unnecessary opportunities to Povetkin. He's 40 years old, but the last thing he loses is your power. And I just believe he shouldn't present any unnecessary opportunities. Box the best he can. Use that jab, hit Povetkin to the body, gradually slow him up. Second half of the fight, opportunities will present themselves. then he'll have opportunities to potentially counter Povetkin, catch him a big shot, potentially put him away. So those are the keys to victory for Dillian Whyte. Alexander Povetkin, it's interesting, you know, because as I said, Alexander Povetkin tends to come out very quickly. His main tools in his arsenal, his left hook, right hook, uppercuts at close range, hand speed. Hasn't got the hand speed of someone like Andy Ruiz, but we saw what the problems he caused AJ. He's got that ability to catch you with shots in your blind spot, in your peripheral vision. He's got that ability to switch direction. He feints to the body as if he's going to hit you with the left, cuts to the right, finds you with the right hook. That's what these are the type of things Povetkin's capable of, you know. Age 4, we saw, very tough man, rugged. He's not going to give up. This is Povetkin's potential last opportunity for the WBC title shot he could have against Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. And I don't see Povetkin, you know, coming in here without a fight. You know, this guy, last opportunity. These older guys, similar to Kubrat Pulev, you know, Kubrat Pulev against AJ, and Alexander Povetkin in a similar position, looking to capitalize, you know, on the opportunities to get to the big time of heavyweight boxing before they bow out at the age of like 40 or 40. Similar guys, you know, older Eastern European fighters, you know, they take things seriously. You know, this is their last opportunity. But in terms of Povetkin's keys to victory, he needs to find the left hook, the right hook. He needs to be trying to get beyond Dillian Whyte's jab. If Dillian Whyte is going to be trying to box, obviously Povetkin needs to utilize his speed in the he needs to time himself. As I said, because Povetkin, you know, tends to gas. He's made a similar mistake against Anthony Joshua, gassing out, getting tired later on, presenting unnecessary opportunities for Anthony Joshua to counter him and hit him with, you know, especially that right hand that rocked him before he got dropped. Povetkin needs to pace himself. You know, he needs to have the mentality that this fight could go 12 rounds. And against a younger Dillian Whyte, he can't afford to present unnecessary opportunities for Dillian Whyte to be catching him with big shots, whether it's the left hook, whether it's the straight right. And obviously they say that you can't, you know, you can't go out, you can't go in the shower and not get wet, but you know, but you can control how wet you get, can you not? So Povetkin needs to control the tempo. He's going to need to use his speed, use his agility in terms of landing his power shots. He needs to get that left hook in there. I just feel like if Povetkin's going to win by knockout, he needs to avoid going later rounds. I don't think later rounds is going to be great for Povetkin. Obviously, it's only going to be great for Povetkin if he can carry that power into the latter rounds. If Povetkin exerts himself if Povetkin comes out of the gates against Dillian Whyte and exerts his energy, letting his hands go, and for one reason or the other, Dillian Whyte is able to weather the storm and get through the early onslaught from Povetkin, there's a very good chance Povetkin could get knocked out later in the fight. So I just feel like in terms of Povetkin's keys to victory, he needs to pace himself, not overly exert himself in the early going. Obviously, he's got his own style that he likes to emulate, looking for very Mike Tyson-esque, coming in low, sneaking in those left hooks, feinting with the left and then slipping to the right and coming with the right hook, and then open up guys, making their hands drop with shots to the body, then hitting them with the uppercut. Because we saw when Anthony Joshua's legs basically went to jelly. Was that round 2? Or was that round, I think that was round 1, or was that round 2 against Anthony Joshua? These 2-3 punch combinations, you know, someone like AJ is very skilled, very defensively sound, people like to say, in terms of his, you know, covering up and stuff like that. If Dillian Whyte as defensively sound as Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte needs to keep his discipline. But Povetkin, just like what he did against Anthony Joshua in the early going, I feel like he should do a similar job on Dillian Whyte, because I feel like what he did against Anthony Joshua in the early going, I think he would have a lot more success if he did a similar thing against Dillian Whyte, actually, in my opinion. But I just feel like in order to successfully not gas out in later rounds, if it does go that far, and not to present unnecessary opportunities to Dillian Whyte later on in the fight due to fatigue, I feel like he should emulate what he did against Anthony Joshua, but not, you know, not so much. I think he should time himself and pace himself. He should have paced assertiveness against Dillian Whyte. He should pace himself, how much he asserts himself against Dillian Whyte, looking for those shots, be sneaky, use the feints, confuse Dillian Whyte. Then the opportunities will present themselves for Alexander Povetkin. So what do you guys think? Do you think Povetkin can beat Dillian Whyte? Do you think Dillian Whyte will beat Povetkin? Will Povetkin find his left hook, find the right hooks, find the openings for Dillian Whyte? Will Dillian Whyte keep his discipline and not look for a war? If Dillian Whyte looks for a war, I believe that falls into the hands of Povetkin. Povetkin, very skilled fighter. Povetkin will know how to weather a war from Dillian Whyte, and he can slip them shots and can find a way to counter Dillian Whyte and potentially put Dillian Whyte away if he's not careful. So drop your comments in the comment section below. This is the weigh-in keys to victory video coming to you from KBV Boxing. Share this video, like, subscribe. Big fight happening on the weekend. Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin, live on Sky Sports Box Office, Matchroom, Fight Camp. Let's have it. Biggest fight since lockdown. Let's have it, guys. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me see what you guys think. Who are you rooting for? You Team Whyte, Team Povetkin? Do you want to see Povetkin get his last shot at the world title against Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury? Or do you want to see Dillian Whyte, or obviously he's come along this long road looking for his title shot? Do you want to see Dillian Whyte fulfill his dream and take on Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury potentially on February 2021 for a massive WBC showdown? Drop your comments in the comment section below again. Like, subscribe, cool.